Hey believers, how are you? My name is Andrea Reed and I welcome you back to this Bible study. Tonight we're going into Exodus chapter 7. And so just a little disclosure, I have some sinus issues. It might be harder to hear me, but we're going to press forward. I might have to stop and pause, but bear with me believers, we're going to get through this. So, in our last chapter, chapter 6, it ended with Moses complaining to God that he was not capable of doing all that God was commanding him to do. And what I love about Exodus chapter 7, our study for tonight, is that in the first couple of verses, God is going to speak to really some of Moses's fears, and he's going to express the level of power and miracles that he's going to be working through Moses in these first couple of verses. He makes a powerful statement in the first verse about Moses and Pharaoh's relationship from this point on. And this is going to set the tone for the rest of Moses and really Aaron's encounters with Pharaoh. God is basically giving him the assurance of, look, not only are you going to be able to speak to Pharaoh, but I am also placing you over Pharaoh as my spokesperson, my representative, to free the people of Israel. In this chapter, we will also see Pharaoh continue to fight to keep control over the people of Israel by keeping them in bondage. And there are two key events that occur in this chapter. Aaron's staff turns into a serpent and the first plague. So let's go straight into the study, starting with verse 1. Then the Lord said to Moses, "See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh." Powerful statement. "And your brother Aaron will be your prophet. You are to say everything I command you. And your brother Aaron is to tell Pharaoh to let the Israelites go out of his country. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart. And though I multiply my signs and wonders in Egypt, he will not listen to you. Then I will lay my hand on Egypt, and with mighty acts of judgment, I will bring out my divisions, my people, the Israelites. And the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I stretch out my hand against Egypt and bring the Israelites out of it." Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord commanded them. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. So the first verse, believers, God says he has made Moses like God to Pharaoh. So Moses is fearful of his abilities to speak to Pharaoh and do all that God is asking him to do. And God is telling him, I have put you over Pharaoh, to handle the release of the people of Israel. If he had had that mindset, he would have been fearful, right? I strongly believe that. So, believers, many times we fear our enemies, even though God gives us the power and authority to be victorious over them in any situation, right? And that's how powerful our God is. Psalms 101 verse 1 says, he will make your enemies a footstool. So who should we fear if God is on our side, right? So we also see that God promises to harden Pharaoh's heart, and it will be to the destruction of the Egyptian people that Pharaoh maintains his battle to enslave the people of Israel. Continuing on, verse 8. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh says to you, perform a miracle, then say to Aaron, take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh, and it will become a snake. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. Aaron threw his staff down in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a snake. Pharaoh then summoned wise men and sorcerers, and the Egyptian magicians also did the same things by their secret arts. Each one threw down his staff, and it became a snake. But Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Yet Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said. So, believers, Moses and Aaron performed the first sign and miracle, and as God said, Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he was not moved. He even had his magicians try to match what Moses and Aaron had done, right? And when Aaron's rod swallowed up the magician's rod, he still wasn't moved. And this was after seeing that his own magician's power could not match God's power that he worked through Aaron and Moses. Continuing on, verse 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, excuse me, Pharaoh's heart is unyielding. He refuses to let the people go. Go to Pharaoh in the morning as he goes out to the river, confront him on the bank of the Nile, and take in your hand the staff that was changed into a snake. Then say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me to say to you, let my people go, so that they may worship me in the wilderness. But until now you have not listened. This is what the Lord says. By this you will know that I am the Lord. With the staff that is in my hand, I will strike the water of the Nile, and it will be changed into blood. The fish in the Nile will die, and the river will stink. The Egyptians will not be able to drink its water. The Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron to take your staff and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt. Over the streams and canals, over the ponds and all the reservoirs, and they will turn to blood. Blood will be everywhere in Egypt, even in vessels of wood and stone. Can you imagine what that must have looked like, believers? Continuing on. Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded. He raised his staff in the presence of Pharaoh and his officials and struck the water of the Nile, and all of the water was changed into blood. The fish in the Nile died, and the river smelled so bad that the Egyptians could not drink its water. Blood was everywhere in Egypt. Terrible. But the Egyptian magicians did the same things by their secret arts, and Pharaoh's heart became hard. He would not listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had said. Instead, he turned and went into his palace and did not take even this to heart. And all the Egyptians dug along the Nile to get drinking water, because they could not drink the water of the river. So the first plague was started, believers, due to Pharaoh's disobedience and hardened heart. But, Pharaoh was not moved to let the people of Israel go free. Some people, believers, you got to show them better than you can tell them. And even then, they still don't believe. But we do, right? We have a healthy fear of God. And when God tells us to do something, we are obedient. At least I am. I know I am. So to conclude, we see that this is the beginning of a terrible battle between God and Pharaoh. Terrible. And this chapter made me think of every battle that has been waged against me, that God has shown up in those times of great attacks, believers, delivering me, and punishing my enemies. And believers, some battles persisted in my life for a very long time, right? Attack after attack I experienced. But God never gave up on me. He never gave up on me. He never left me. When everybody else left me, God didn't. He never gave up on me. Because every battle that he won over my life was for his glory. For his glory. And that's just in the case of the people of Israel. Their deliverance was for the glory of God. And believers, if God will deliver me, if God delivered the people of Israel, don't you know that God will deliver you from any attack of your enemies? So don't be fearful. Know that God is always with you, watching over you, and protecting you. So I hope you enjoyed this chapter, and thank you for bearing with me and my sinus issues. And God gonna see me through this too, child. So read ahead, believers, to chapter 8. And as always, like, share, and comment. Tell me what you think, and be blessed, believers. Bye for now.